I wrote the book Stand Up to the Financial Services Industry in 2019. In it, I explored how many financial advisors are oblivious to the evidence that underpins proper portfolio management. I made the case that these advisors were not being deliberately nefarious, but rather pointed out that social psychology and groupthink cause the very large majority of them to be unwittingly incompetent and oblivious to the evidence that they really ought to know. In 2023, I released the book Bullshift, which is about how optimism bias threatens your finances. My cheeky way of explaining it is how the financial services industry shifts your attention to make you feel bullish. For both books, my concern is advisors who have good intentions, but who nonetheless end up unwittingly doing harm for their valued clients. For the past number of years, I've been struggling to find a unifying thread to more clearly explain how different elements of unwitting incompetence might play out. Many people are familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people are blissfully unaware of their own deficiencies. That's part of it. More recently, however, I found another unifying thread that I think will resonate even more, and that thread is the rise of both misinformation and disinformation, and the poster boy for that is Donald Trump. Trump was elected a year ago, and when it happened, I was gobsmacked. After the riots on Capitol Hill on January 6, 2021, I didn't think there was any way he could possibly be elected president again. 9 months ago, he was sworn in again, and I think it's safe to say that the world as we had come to know it has changed forever. There's a concept known as the Overton Window, which explains how public policy alternatives that were once seen as radical can, in the fullness of time, become mainstream elements of newly enacted public policy. I now think that the intersection of financial advisors' misguided beliefs, which is the primary concern of stand-up, and the overall prevalence of optimism bias as a dominant mindset of advisors, which is the primary concern of Bullshift, can both be explained in a way that is clear and intuitive for virtually anyone. We all need to be vigilant about our decision hygiene. We need to think about thinking. Most of all, we need to hone our critical thinking skills and be less willing to accept what we hear and see and read as being accurate. Since we need to be careful in our decision making, I'm embarking on a two-pronged mission. I've written a course which is eligible for continuing education credits for financial advisors to understand how their misguided beliefs and optimism bias can harm investor outcomes, but I've also developed a presentation that I'm giving to colleges and universities throughout Ontario. There's a quote that's attributed to Mark Twain that goes like this: "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." I like to use that quote because although it's frequently attributed to Twain, there's absolutely no evidence that he actually ever said it. It's apocryphal. Despite that, there are lots of people who claim to be familiar with the quote and who believe Twain is the source. Ironically, that simply proves the content of the message. There are a lot of financial advisors who believe certain things that just ain't so. I want to do what I can to help set the record straight. The other aspect involves enlightening students that are looking to enter the financial services industry. There's a well-known internet meme called Brandolini's Law that says the amount of effort required to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude greater than the amount of effort required to generate the bullshit in the first place. I hope to nip the problem in the bud by helping those who might one day work in the financial services industry to understand how the industry bamboozles them before they enter the industry and before they get bamboozled. It's not glamorous work, but someone has to do it. The simple fact of the matter is there are way too many examples of misguided beliefs and optimism bias in financial services today. Furthermore, there's a lot that's being written and consumed on a regular basis that's presumptively true, but nonetheless demonstrably false. The classic example of this is the use of active management for public securities. There are just too many people offering advice for retail clients who honestly believe things that are simply not true. How can we make the world a better place if the people who are supposed to be helping are themselves a significant part of the problem?